Aloha, my name is ORALANI Koa, and I am the manager of Hawaiian programming at the Westin Maui Resort and Spa Kanapali, and I am from Honokohau, Lahaina, Maui. I believe that all of our roles and all of us as cultural, whether you're an ambassador or an advisor, all of us are layered in education in this particular role. And really the main function of our roles is education. So we are the ones who are creating and putting together programs and offerings that's layered in education for the guests to experience, but it's not an experience for us. It's an education component to really teach all of our guests and all of our visitors and our own people as well, the cultural practices of who we are, why these practices are important, and that embedded with education and the stories behind it is really truly the story of our people. And that is why people come here to our island. And so in these positions, it really is an honor for me, an honor to be able to create. It's an honor to be able to collaborate with our community and bring forth these, quote unquote classes, but really it's these cultural practices, and to be able to articulate why these are important because it comes from a place in our culture and it's embedded in who we are. Well, what I love about this particular pu'uhonua is that it is a resource center. It's not just a center where, our guests are just coming in and they want to know about LA. It's a place that they can come, they can talk stories, they can ask questions as they're going around our island and they see plants. They're out in our ocean and they're snorkeling and they have a question about a fish. They're able to come to a place and ask a question and receive an answer that truly is an honest answer of what these things are and what it represents. And so this hub, you could say, is really a place of knowledge that our guests know that they can come to and that they can in turn be educated. And so it's so much more than just a center. It's a center, yes, but it really is a place of learning that guests get to really come to, and they know that they can come to and ask freely these questions without any kind of stereotype or being afraid of, should I really ask this question? I don't know how to pronounce this word, that they can actually come and ask. And so it really is this place that people get to come to, that they get to ask freely, and that they get to express a little bit of who they are as well. Okay, so being a teacher during the summertime, we always have opportunities to find a job. And I thought, I could do kids club and activities. That's super easy, As a career, I'm a teacher, for young children. And I thought, this would be such a simple job. It'll be quite easy. And so I applied here at the property, not knowing that they were creating a culture department. And so they called and they said, are you familiar with Auntie Makalapua? And I said, I am. My family and my father. And so, she's creating a culture department. So I said, perfect. Call me back. Let me know when you're ready. And I said, no rush because I'm a school teacher. And they called right at the end of the year. They said, we're going to create a culture department. Would you be interested in being a cultural specialist? And that's when I really thought to myself, what is the objective of this job? What is important about this job? And it was about education, right? And I really thought of all of our guests that come in, that they're actually big students, like how I have my students. And although my students are little, I thought of all of our guests as big kids. So I said, sure, I can do this, right? And here we are years and years later, and I see the importance of this seat and this position that once started as just a summer job for Kids Club has now taken on so much more in the seat that I sit in. So, my role in this particular industry was not a role that I ever thought I would ever be in, honestly. For over 10 years, I was a Hawaiian immersion teacher. And I was raised in a family that really embedded culture into who I am today. And my mom was a teacher, my aunties and cousins are teachers, and I was a teacher as well. But what brought me really to this particular position is seeing the importance of education. That yes, we are educators for our children as we bring them up. But the question that came to me is, who are the people that's educating our visitors? And many of our visitors make this their home. But who is that person sitting at that seat that's telling our story of our people? And so I took this position because of that, because I see the importance of being the person who is saying our story of this land and this place. And so to me, it's much more than just something that I like. It is my responsibility. It is my kuleana to make sure, even in the industry, that there's lots of stereotypes. It is a place that we need to be at. We need to be in these seats to say, this is who we are, and this truly is what Hawaii is. So that is my responsibility that I take on. I think when you're born and raised on an island, embedded in culture, the thought of moving away it's never a thought I ever had. Because for generations, my family has come from here. And for generations to come, my family will stay. And so, choosing to be a teacher, I knew that it's a challenge, but it was a challenge that I wanted to take on. And so for me, although yes, it may be easy because it may be cheaper to move away, I always know that it is truly our responsibility to remain here, even in the challenging times, right? And so like in the famous battle of Hawaiian, Kamehameha tells his warriors to go forth and Inui Kawai Ava Ava to drink of the bitter waters. I view this time in our community, in our history, as this is the bitter waters, right? But we have to be able to drink those bitter waters to foresee this time in our journey to remain here, even in the most challenging of times. And so it was never a thought to move away, because what we do and what we don't do, the generations to come will always pay the price for it. What I choose not to do, they will reap that benefit, right? What I choose to do, also in this industry of tourism, right? They will be able to see what that is. And so moving away is never an option. Remaining here is what we need to do. Oh, definitely, being born and raised here, you see our culture being marketed, right, all the time. And so before I thought like, oh, there's those tikis, there's those pineapples. And what I've come to realize is it's all served a purpose in our time and in our history. And it wasn't until I came into this seat that I seen the influence that we can have to really turn that around, right? To really take that part that served its place in our history and say, let's take that farther. Where do these things come from in our history and what does it represent? And then we look in the marketing side of it is, what are we really promoting in that story? What are we really promoting in that cultural practice, right? And in that promotion, are we being sensitive to our culture? And so for sure, the hibiscus and the monsteras and, in my mind, especially because I'm coming from a place of Hawaiian immersion and really knowing who we are as a people, it makes my head go, and it makes me wonder, right? But then I look back at, okay, what is the resources that they have at that time, right? And what is it serving for us at that time? And how can we dive deeper into that story so that we can say, oh, we're much more than that, right? And that now we know more. We have more degrees within our Hawaiian community. We have more people who are fluent in our language in my generation. And so because we know more, now it really is our job to really look at things like this in hospitality and say, where's our opportunities to grow this so that we really stay authentic to our culture and to our people. One thing I love to do is just to go around our islands and to see all these different historical places. I love history. And what a lot of people don't realize is that right in your backyard, there is so much history. And sometimes we miss it, right? Because we're in the everyday, the hustle and the bustle, and we gotta get to work. And that sometimes we forget about the own beauty in our islands. And so I love to just go around and see the history of our places, to read books, right? So if somebody is gonna ask me a question I don't know, I'm the person that's going to keep on going to get that answer, go out and see. And in Hawaiian, we say ike maka, right? We see it with our own eyes, because when I see with my own eyes, I know it's real. And when I know it's real, then the story becomes alive when I retell it. So I love doing those kind of things and going around and finding out more, because there's so much layers to our culture that we know, but also that we don't know. So I love doing those kind of things. I don't know if that's fun, but I hope that 7 generations from now, that the decisions we make will allow them to see the same Hawaii that I see now, right? In all of our natural resources, in all of our beaches, I hope the decisions we make as a whole, as a community, will allow them to see exactly what I see. That it's not just a story in a book that they're going to read. It's not just at one time and point on our island of Maui, it was this, right? I hope that they will be able to say, no, 7 generations ago, it was like this, and it still is. And I know it's doable, because if our kupuna and our elders could do it for us in this generation, I know that we can. I just find it fascinating that our elders and our kupuna a long time ago, 2,000 plus years ago, wrote about these places, wrote chants for these places, honored these people. And we go back today and they see that same wall. You go back today and they see that same burial site. And it fascinates me that they knew how to sustain and maintain these places. And so it is my hope that it will be the same. It's my hope that when they go and see the stream, that it's not just a riverbed, that's rocks, but that's flowing water. The water that we got to play in is the same water that my kupuna got to play in. And to have that kind of generational connection is my hope for our future.